So Justine, could you tell something about your interest about Ayurveda? I remember that you are from Canada, and you've been also studying there also with elders about herbs. But can you tell something more about where was the interest to Ayurveda came from?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm originally from Vancouver Island in Canada, and there we have a really big selection of plants and wild plants. The climate is very mild, so we can grow really large amount of plants there. And we learn from the elders, the older people, and the Native Americans how to use the plants. So I've been very fortunate to learn about the Native American plants as well as the Western plants there. So growing up, learning how to heal myself and my family members with our local plants, I wanted to go deeper into the plant knowledge, something with a longer living tradition like Ayurveda, which is the longest living lineage of traditional medicine in the world. So I couldn't study Ayurveda on Vancouver Island. There was nowhere in Western Canada at that time. So I had to move to Portland, Oregon, and actually immigrate to the United States with a green card to study Ayurveda. So I was really passionate about my path to Ayurveda.
Great, and now you've been in Finland for 7 years.
Yes, almost 7 years.
Yeah, so we are fortunate to have you here. Great. How has Ayurveda changed your life?
Well, I think like most people who study traditional medicine, they've had their own health problems in their lifetime. So from a younger age, I was having some medical problems, and modern medicine wasn't able to help me. I was told that there was nothing wrong with me. But I was able to heal myself with Ayurveda, and I saw the power of how it worked. So I wanted to study more and share that medicine with other people.
Very nice, very nice. So your lecture is about herbs, about Finnish herbs and how they can be used in the Ayurveda system.
Exactly.
What do you wish a listener of this workshop will learn?
I would hope that you would be able to use your own plants here in Finland to heal yourself and your family. So you don't have to always search to the east to find plants to help you. You can use the plants that are here also. We have some really powerful wild herbs in Finland. Because of the harsh climate, the wild plants really have to be strong to survive. So that creates a lot of medicine that's really powerful.
Thank you. No niin, ennen taas kun Justine aloittaa, niin aloitetaan taas pieni hetki, että kaikki tullaan tähän yhdessä tähän samaan tilaan, eli hengitellään muutaman kerran sisään ja ulos. Eli hengitellään sisään ja ulos. Sisään ja ulos. Ja annetaan vielä Justinelle aplodit, kun hän aloittaa.
I have also.
It's for the camera.
Okay. All right. Yes. All right. Okay. So hopefully you can see the text here. I tried to make it very clear, and I also wrote some of the meanings for some of the difficult words or action words in herbalism. Because I don't expect that everybody here is a professional herbalist and that knows all the Western actions for the words. So I've put in some information here, and I'll explain a little more in detail. So the first plant we're going to talk about is rose. And that is the rugosa rosa. That grows wild here in Finland. I'm going to pass around a photo so you can see it, because you're probably really familiar with this flower. It has a very pink and very fragrant smell to it. So I'll pass this around so you can see. It likes to grow along the highways. You see it when you're driving. It likes to grow at the edges of forests and edges of fields. So you've most likely seen it. Maybe it's in your garden or your grandmother's garden. And of course, we don't want to pick the wild plants by the highway. I'm just saying, for example, you will see them there. You want to, of course, try to find the cleanest nature you can to pick the plants. But the reason why I've chose the rose is because it is so abundant here. There is so much of it in Finland. And because it's extremely medicinal. We can use it for a lot of different remedies. And I've worked with roses from different parts of the world, made tinctures where you drop alcohol through the petals of the leaf, the flower. And the Finnish roses have the most medicine out of any rose I've ever worked with. When I drip the alcohol through the rose petal, it becomes clear. You can see through the rose petal. It gives all the medicine. It wants to give it all. So I'm so happy to be working with the roses here. And it also reminds me of my grandmother. It was her favorite flower, so the smell of the roses reminds me of her. And also, like I said, it's one of the best ways to use medicine is to pick your wild plants here. So let's get in a little more detail about the rose. So from Ayurveda perspective, it is tridoshic, which means good for all doshas. That's why you see this V, P, and K here, and that's equal sign, V, P, K, and equal. This means tridoshic and good for everybody. So if you're making medicine for somebody or yourself and you're not sure what your Ayurvedic dosha is, this is suitable for everybody. So it says here also, may increase kapha or ama in excess. You would have to use a really insane amount of roses for it to cause any kaphagenic problems. So no worries here. You would need to collect rose petals all summer long and just be eating them all the time. So it technically does increase kapha because kapha, it has a water element to it, and rose is cooling and has a water element to it. So that's technically how it works on the kapha side. And then ama in excess. So ama is this white sticky stuff that you might see on your tongue in the morning. Some of you might already be cleaning the ama off of the tongue in the morning. And ama can be present in different parts of the body. It usually goes to the weak parts of the body. For somebody with lung problems, like asthma or bronchitis, the ama has gone to the lungs. Or somebody with arthritis, the ama has gone to the joints to cause problems for them. So this is why if you took, like I said, in excess, very large amounts of rose, it could have an effect on kapha or ama in the body, but none of us are going to be taking too much rose that it causes a problem. So the roses also work on the blood and the nerves in the body and the reproductive system, the plasma and the marrow. So it's very nutritive, which means it's very nourishing for the body. So somebody that needs more nourishment, this would be a really good plant for them. Also for the circulatory system, especially for female reproductive tissues and the nervous system. So for women that have difficulties with circulation, they're having some reproductive issues, maybe they're trying to get pregnant, so for fertility, or maybe post-pregnancy, they need some nourishment there after having a baby. And the nervous system for people, they're just stressed out, the nerves are completely frazzled and they need some help. And so we have some of these technical words here, like actions, alterative, and amenagogue. And you can see I've explained what some of them are here. The amenagogue increases menstrual flow. So for somebody that is not having a menstrual flow, or not often enough, or very, very light, roses would be good for that. Also for painful menstruation, dysmenorrhea, so that's when there's pain that comes with it. Or for absence of menstruation, so there's no bleeding, the woman does not have the monthly bleeding, it can help bring it on. So you see it helps regulate the women's monthly menstrual cycle. Also it is an alterative, which means that's refrigerant and cooling. So it's very cooling. So when we look at things from Ayurveda perspective, or even Chinese medicine, we look at see if plants are heating or cooling. And roses are cooling. So this would be excellent to make in the summer. You could make a rose tea. So you could take the fresh rose petals, cook some hot water with that, and drink it either warm if you like, or you can cool it down and make more like an iced tea with it, like a cold tea for the summer. So one of my favorite drinks with the rose in the summer would to be first brew a tea and then add some lime juice, because lime juice is also considered cooling and very hydrating. So that would be like a natural hydration drink instead of buying something at the shop with a lot of artificial flavors and sugars. You could make your own hydrating drink with rose petals and lime juice. We want to remember that lemon is heating. So lemon would be okay, but if you're trying to do a cooling drink, stick with the limes. Okay, so one of the highest sources of vitamin C that we have available in Finland is the rose hip. And the rose hip is when the rose petals fall off and there's that round red piece on the stem. And that's after the flowers have fallen at the end of the season. You can pick those rose hips and you can dry them. And then if you want, you can crush them or you can make them into a powder. So you can take the powder like you would take any kind of superfood powder. Or you could dry them whole and then make tea with them. So that would be a really good way to get your vitamin C source. That's a cooling source of vitamin C if you feel that you need more cooling herbs. Maybe you're a very hot person and very sweaty all the time and maybe have bouts of anger. So you want something more cooling as a vitamin C in your diet, because some vitamin Cs are more heating. So this would be your cooling source of vitamin C. Okay. Yes. Yes.
Okay, just to make sure, are we speaking about the kurtturuusu, the one that we should all get rid of?
Let's see. Yes, kurtturuusu.
Okay, now the thing is that
Yes.
the government says that we should get rid of it. My garden is full of kurtturuusu and we just have a plan to get totally rid of it. We have 3 years time to
Yes.
get rid of the whole plant from this country.
We will not be completely getting rid of the plant from the country. It will not be possible, but I understand the reduction of it. But it's, for example, Finnish government also says that puyo, or mugwort, is a noxious weed, and it should be pulled and it should be removed. But it has a lot of medicinal properties. People tend to be allergic to the flower of the puyo or the mugwort, but not from the actual plant itself. So there is a lot of medicinal property in there. So I'm not really a fan of removing plants that have medicinal benefit.
Okay, so should we go perhaps to resistance and not take away?
This is your choice. I will not remove it from my yard, for example. But you will always be able to find it. It grows everywhere.
Yeah.
So even if everyone removes it from their garden, there's still going to be this rose everywhere.
You know, the thing was, I was traveling in Estonia last summer.
Yes.
And kurtturuusu is occupating the beaches.
Yes, it's everywhere.
All over.
Yes.
All over.
And this is why it's a good plant to use, because, for example, some plants like echinacea flower, is endangered because we have overharvested it and we are misusing it as a cold and flu medication when it's actually quite a cooling flower and doesn't really work for prevention of most types of cold and flu. But the marketing for it is really pushing for this cold and flu, for this echinacea flower. So we have to see like how things are represented, how herbs are represented in the media and with the laws. Like I said, it's actually a good plant to use then, because you're not going to over-harvest it, because we're actually told to now remove it from the garden. So hey, let's make food with it, let's make medicine with it, let's use it, instead of just saying we got to dig it out and throw it away, right? Yes, that was a really good question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm not going to remove that.
Yes. No. Do you think we'll get a fine for not removing it from our garden? Are they going to go to everybody's garden?
They are
Yeah.
appealing to the diversity of the nature.
Yes.
Say that the kurtturuusu will, like,
Of course, it's really important to have biodiversity, and to get people to move it from their gardens is a good idea, but like I said, it will never be completely eliminated from Finland. We will always have it for our medicine here. So use it, make jam. You know, let's talk about the jam here. I have to zoom in a little bit so you can see it. The bottom. So rose petal jam mixed with warm milk before bed is a classic Ayurvedic remedy. Now, some people don't like milk, and so you could use like an alternative milk if you want to. We could talk about milk for an hour. We're not going to get into the quality of milk, okay? So it's your choice what kind of milk you want to use. But it's very, very cooling. It's very good for the heart. So when you think of chakras and closed chakras, it opens the heart chakra. Rose petals mixed with warm milk before bed. It helps you sleep well and feel relaxed. And it's also the flower of love and devotion. You will see in India when they have the ceremonies, the puja, they use rose flowers a lot to put on the altar. And you can also use fresh rose petals macerated with raw honey. So macerate means to use the mortar and pestle and crush, to really get the crushed with the rose petals and the honey together. Or you can use a raw sugar, and this would be good for sore throat. So a lot of people are spending lots of money on these fancy products, at the health food stores for sore throat and cold and flu. You could just take a basic rose petal and honey maceration for sore throat. And that would be basically almost free, especially if you had your own bees and your own honey, right? You got your own bees, your own honey, and you got your own rose petals. You're making your own free medicine right there. And of course it tastes good, because sometimes some of these medications for sore throats taste really bad. So kids really like it too. That would be a safe one to give to children over the safe age for honey. So some people would say that would be 2 years old. It depends on where you are. In India, they give honey as the first food to the baby when it is born. And of course there is risk of botulism, so you have to decide for yourself what choice you want to make with the honey and the children. But good raw honey is definitely a medicine. We use honey like a vehicle to deliver herbs to the body. So you can use many things to deliver the herbs to the body. You can use alcohol as a tincture or tinctura. You can use honey or ghee or sugar. In India, they don't use white sugar. We only use the raw Indian sugar, so it's very different. And you can use coconut blossom sugar. That would be a healthy sugar to use. They're all going to help deliver the herbs to the body so that they work better. So a tea is nice. You can make a tea with herbs. But sometimes just infusing with water is not strong enough. You need like a delivery vehicle, like honey or ghee, to deliver the herbs. So that's why I really like this remedy here with the wild roses. So any questions about the rose before we move on to the next herb? Okay. Okay, so now we talk about puyo, mugwort, because I get this question a lot. When I moved to Finland, I saw signs that were saying to remove this plant if you see it. But the thing about mugwort or puyo is that it likes to grow along, It likes to grow along pathways where we're walking. So, let's see. See, I'm trying to scroll to the top so you can see. Okay, well, you remember that this one is mugwort, puyo. Okay. So it likes to grow along the pathways where we're walking. So it's reaching out to us. It's saying to us, we can help you. You can use us for your medicinal help. So a lot of the plants that are very medicinal grow where people walk. Is that a coincidence? Right? They're there to help us. So it's really good to learn the herbs that are growing around you when you're going for your weekend walk or your evening walk, trying to learn the plants. And there are some classes that you can go to. Helsinki Wild Foods offers some classes on plant walks. I'm going to start offering plant walks next summer in Porvoo, where I live. So actually, if you want to sign up for that and also the e-newsletter that I have, you can write your email address here, and I'll pass that around if you want to sign up for that. So let's look at it from Ayurveda perspective here. So it says V, K, and then P plus. So it's saying Vata Kapha minus, so it means it reduces Vata and Kapha, and P, Pitta, in excess, it increases. So here it says in excess. So again, you'd have to use a lot. Most people don't use enough herbs. The thing is, people are often afraid of dosage. They're often afraid that they're taking too much of things. But honestly, most people just don't use herbs enough, and then therefore, they don't work for that person, and then people think herbs don't work. That's the biggest problem that we have as herbalists, is getting people to not be afraid and take a proper dosage and feel the effects of it. So it is warming because it is more heating and more pitta provoking. It's bitter and pungent, so things that are bitter and pungent are quite heating. And some people need that heat. You know, some people are very cold. They need that kind of heat. So it helps to stop bleeding. So it's just like, is it piharatamo, plantain. You can put a leaf on a cut and it will help stop the bleeding. It is the same with the leaf of the mugwort or the puyo. It will help stop bleeding if you put the leaf on the cut. It induces sweating, and it's anti-parasitic. So if you have parasites, people take it to eliminate the parasites. It's also good for female reproductive system, just like the rose flower, but this would be a heating version for reproduction, so you have to think about the person's constitution. Yes? So I use the leaves, good question. I pick it before the flowers come. So I'm picking leaf. This is why when I give somebody the leaves, I know there's no flower there, because some people are allergic to the flowers. I understand that. Especially in Finland, it seems like there's a lot of allergy to it. But it is suspected actually that there's another plant called ragweed, and I'm trying to remember the Finnish name now, but that's actually the allergen problem. People think that it's mugwort, it's puyo, but it's actually this ragweed, which if anybody knows what that is in Finnish, please let me know. Yeah. Ragweed. R-A-G, weed. Yeah, if anyone knows what that is in Finnish, then that is actually suspected to be the allergen plant, but people like to blame the mugwort, the puyo, for it. Okay. So for arthritis and nervous conditions and for vata conditions, this is what it's used mostly for within Ayurveda. So a lot of arthritic formulas. So formulas are an herbal mix of different herbs and plants. So you can find this in some of the Ayurvedic remedies for arthritis. Also for nervous conditions, the nervous system, and for obstructed or blocked vata, it would be used. Okay. Oops. Trying to zoom in the bottom here for you so you can see it. Okay. I think it may be found in the southern parts of Finland, but definitely not in northern. As far as I understand, it's around the southern coast, but not up in the north. Yeah, I'm trying to zoom in on this bottom part. Thanks, I have my technician here. So maybe some of you have had acupuncture before from the Chinese medicine. And maybe they have burned a plant in the room while you were there, or put on the end of the needles these little balls of herbs, and then they've been smoking. or they might have rolled a wand over your body that was smoking. So if they're using that, that is mugwort, that is puyo. It is one of the most valuable herbs in Chinese medicine, actually. And it's called moxa, or moxibustion. You can see here, I put it at the bottom. And it's also used for incense as well. So, for example, you could technically make your own moxa because we have so much mugwort growing here. I know a lot of the Chinese doctors in Finland have a hard time getting mugwort or puyo or these moxa sticks imported into Finland, so I think some of them are considering trying to make their own. So it's basically a stick that looks like a cigarette. Some of them look like a white, long cigarette, and they burn it. And they will burn it over, in Ayurveda we call it marma points, or in Chinese medicine it's the acupressure points, and they will hold the smoking moxa stick over different parts of the body. So, like I said, we don't have to necessarily always buy herbs and medicines from more southern climates. We have the plant here. We could technically make our own moxa here if we wanted to. Okay, so you can also use it to wash wounds or cuts, or if you have a fungal infection, like maybe something between the toes, something funky going on there, you could make a foot bath with it. So in the sauna would be a perfect time. You have a bucket, nice wooden bucket, you put some mugwort leaves in there, and then you soak your feet in there if you're having any kind of fungal problems there. It works quite well. You don't have to go to the pharmacy or the apteki to buy some cream to put on it. Just use your mugwort, your puyo. Okay, so any questions before we go to the next? I have to see the time here. Okay. Okay, now we go to yarrow, or sienkarseme. Okay, I hope I said that correctly. It's a hard one for me, so I always try it every time. So this one I think most people know. Most people have this in their grass or their garden. Maybe your grandmother taught you what it looks like. I'll also pass a photo around of that one. I would say it has almost like a feather texture to the leaf. It's a very unusual leaf. And when it's really small, you can pick it and put it in salads. But when it gets large, like this big, it's not very tasty anymore. So you want to get the really small ones right at the beginning of spring and put those in your salads. And it has a little bit of a hot or peppery taste to it. I would say it's a bit close to rucola in flavor. So it would be like your wild rucola. Let's get some images here. So it can have yellow or white flowers. But I'm going to show you first the leaf, because that's what we get first in the springtime. Okay. And this one is really easy to identify, so you don't have to worry about making a mistake and eating something poisonous. I don't think there's anything else that really looks like it, here in Finland anyway. So this one's also really good to put on a cut. It will stop bleeding. It works really well actually for nosebleed. If somebody has a nosebleed, just stuff some yarrow up there and it really does help stop the nosebleed. But it's kind of hard to get people to put plants up their nose. But it does work. So this one is bitter and astringent. A lot of our Finnish wild greens are bitter and astringent. So I believe bitter is it katkara? Is that bitter? Yeah, so bitter. And we need bitters in the springtime. We've gone through this really long winter in Finland, and the snow has come and gone. It's been freezing and melting, freezing and melting. We need some bitter to get that winter out of the body. It's like giving the liver a squeeze, squeezing out that liver with those bitter herbs. So that's why it says PK-. So that would be Pitta Kapha reducing and Vata in excess. So again, you'd have to eat very large basket for it to be very bothersome. So it does can dry you out because it's bitter. Bitters dry out Vata. So in general, Vata constitution wouldn't want to have too much bitter. That's why a green juice fast would not be recommended for somebody with Vata constitution. It's very common in Finland now that we're doing these juice cleanses, and but they're not suitable for a lot of people, especially in Vata climate, which is mostly Finland. Most of our year, that's our longest season is Vata. So if you want to talk about doing some different kind of detoxing or cleanse that would be suitable for a colder climate like Finland, you can talk to me after the class, and I have some really good ideas for that. So the bitterness of it, like I said, really good to have pick in the springtime. It can have yellow or white flowers. In the summer will come up. And if you have grass and you have like a natural grass cutter, you can keep cutting them and eating them. You know, you cut them down, they grow back again. Cut them down and they grow again. So you can have a source of yarrow leaves all summer long to eat if you don't let them go to flower. Okay. So it's also astringent, which I believe is supistava. So again, very drying, which some people need, especially in springtime, because spring is kapha season. Spring has a wet quality to it, a wet and heaviness. We want to dry it out in the spring with having more supistava, more astringent herbs. So that, like I said, that would be most of the Finnish wild greens, would be this astringent quality to dry out that kapha. You might notice in springtime you have maybe coughing up some liquid from the lungs, or just always a runny nose in the springtime. You need more Finnish wild greens. That's really going to help a lot with that congestion. Yeah, and I see that a lot here, a lot of liquid congestion in the springtime. Okay, so it's also good for cold and flu, and also for fever. If you're getting a fever, it's going to help reduce that. For those who have excessive menstrual bleeding or having menstrual cramps. And yes, very calming and an action on the nerves. So calming nervine. Calming nervines are really great to take in the evening. I would recommend taking a tea or a tincture before bed to help you relax. So again, easy, free, wild plant to use in Finland to make your own medicine with. Mm-hmm. I'm using the leaf here, yes. So yarrow flowers are very pretty. I would dry them and use them as decoration in the home. Or for my wedding, yarrow flowers is what we used for the wedding. Yeah, they're very pretty. And they've been traditionally used in Finland for the wedding ceremonies for a very long time. I don't know if they're used still now, but hundreds of years ago, that's what they used for the wedding ceremonies for the bride, was the yarrow flowers. Yeah. So I'm going to pass around a tincture now, if you want to taste. So this is made with your Finnish wild roses. And this is called love elixir, or lemmenrotto. It actually works. It's not some sort of fake potion. It's made to work. It opens the heart chakra and uplifts the mood. It also has citruna melissa from my garden. So you just squeeze the top, and then you put in your mouth like this. Mm-hmm. And it does have alcohol in it because it's a tincture. Something like echinaforce. You need the alcohol to work as a delivery vehicle to deliver the herbs to the body. When we take a tincture, it goes directly to the bloodstream. It doesn't have to go through the digestion. So they're much more effective than taking a powder or a pill. Yes, they can open it and squeeze the top if they want to try it. You can try just one drop if you just want to taste it, But if you want to feel the effect of the natural mood lifting, you can take like 20 to 30 drops. So it's your choice how much you want to take. Or if you just want to smell it. Yeah. There's also Finnish raspberries, vadelma, yes. So I have raspberries growing in my yard. They're very nice. I put those in there. And there's also brandy for flavoring. So the vodka is used to extract the medicine from the plants, and the brandy gives it a little flavor. And there's also the local raw honey from my area that I put in there, because this one tastes sweet. You want love to taste sweet, right? A lot of medicines taste really bitter and very terrible, but I designed this to taste good. And I designed it so that you could also put it into a drink. If you want to take it with your partner and just feel like happy together, then you could put it in like a sparkling wine or a juice. I give it often for a wedding gift with a bottle of champagne. Very nice for a wedding, yeah. So we're running out of time here. I would love to start going into telling you how to make tinctures, but it's something, if you have questions about, you can ask me after the class, or any other questions you have about Ayurveda or herbalism in general. I'd really like to talk to you. So thank you very much.